This is so disappointing to see. I was having a great time down here covering the fireworks, talking to families who were just enjoying each other, dancing with kids, listening to music, and then we hear this happen. It was just moments before the show started. I saw a commotion down Woodward in the area where you see those flashing lights, right near the Spirit of Detroit statue. That's where police tell me there was a shooting. You can see where the driver lost control going around a curve on Huron River Drive, then went off the road hundreds of feet away. But yet he was going so fast that when he hit a car parked in this driveway, you can see the skid marks where he hit that car. His SUV didn't stop. Instead, it kept going, pushing the car into the neighbor's driveway, and he hit this house. If I had just knocked on this door and I were selling something, I would have broken the law, because as you can see, it is on the no-knock registry in Novi. The closest place that the owners of the Gamers Gallery know about that you can play foot pool is in Arizona. So if you want a rare shot at playing foot pool, it's on Christopher Street in Hamtramck. We have the hours at our website. This little girl is 3 years old, almost 4. A neighbor was relaxing inside his house, and he tells me that he heard people fighting, looked out his window, saw cars speeding down Ogden Street. It appeared the people were shooting at each other. And then around 8:15, right as this all was happening, one of those bullets goes into this house where a little girl was inside playing. She was hit in the shoulder. This young man wasn't just abused. He was held captive, locked in an attic by his mom and her boyfriend for years. It was torture some would not survive. But Curtis Miller is a brave young man who now is speaking out.
You literally took my soul away from me.
For the first time since he was rescued, Curtis Miller is telling his story. He says his nightmare started when his mom, Susan Bardo, took him away from his dad in Detroit and got a new boyfriend, Carl Pellinen. To hide, they pulled him out of school and moved to Escanaba.
To hear that he was with his mom but being abused all that time, that was devastating.
Looking at this school picture of a smiling little boy, you would never imagine his mom could do things to him she and her boyfriend are now in prison for.
I felt like I was stripped of my identity.
From the outside, the home he lived in looked like many others in its UP neighborhood. But behind these doors, Curtis lived in unimaginable conditions. He was beaten, raped by his mom as her boyfriend watched, and from 10 years old to 15 years old for 5 long years, forced to live alone in an unheated attic.
I was in prison.
This is a picture from police of the attic where they would leave him for 23-hour stretches. Only once a day was he allowed out to eat a meal of rice or oatmeal on the stairs. When they left, to ensure he didn't leave, they duct taped his legs. His muscles wasted away.
When he duct taped me to go to the bathroom, I literally fell on my knees.
His mom and boyfriend gave him 1 bathroom break a day. He had accidents as he sat bound in duct tape, waiting.
They actually caused rashes to build up on my body.
He wasn't just a physical prisoner, he was a psychological prisoner. His mom and her boyfriend convinced him that he had to stay in the attic because outside people were waiting to kill him. So when police came knocking on the door, he was terrified. Investigators released this picture, taken as they first entered the attic. They arrested his mom and her boyfriend, who are now serving up to 50-year prison sentences. They took Curtis to the hospital and went to work to find his dad.
When we first got that phone call, I thought, this is going to be hell on earth.
Missy Parker Miller, who happens to be a social worker, had just married Curtis's dad. They had tried to find him, but always thought his mom, while hiding from them, was caring for him. These are pictures of Curtis as he was reunited with his dad, who couldn't be there for the interview. They soon brought him to their home in Detroit. It wasn't easy.
He was very angry at his birth mother and her boyfriend, and he was taking that anger and rage out on everybody around him.
I will admit, when I first came down here, I thought that everything around me was a threat and I had to protect myself.
So I was really scared.
Missy and Curtis's dad focused on learning how to help him heal and get an education after being out of school for years.
Because I was isolated from people for 5 years, my social interaction is very awkward, but I continue to embrace life with joy and great enthusiasm.
This year, Curtis graduated with a 3.5 GPA from University Prep High and spoke about all he overcame before a crowd.
Thank you.
A crowd that honored him as he was awarded a $10,000 scholarship and named the National Exchange Club's Ace of the Year. Curtis says he wants to share his story to help other children who have survived abuse and to inspire families to take them in and help them. He says he is forever grateful to his stepmom for standing by him. He finally feels loved and safe.
Appreciation and respect and gratitude. Not every day, whenever I get a chance, I tell her thank you for help me overcome what I went through and getting me to where I'm at now. And I also do that with my dad.
Children who've been abused, who've been hurt, who've been traumatized, they can heal. And it's a wonderful thing to see that happen.
Right now in Michigan, there are about 13,000 children in foster care and 300 waiting for adoptive families. Curtis's adoptive mom and Curtis say they hope they inspire families to take those kids in, give them love, and help them succeed like Curtis has. Kim Russell, 7 Action News. If you see Joe Noble running down the street, you know there was a story to be told. We wanted to find out what it was.
I just like to run, you know.
But the story is about much more than just running. When Joe turned 68, he started to fall while out on runs.
It really messed me up. Finally, I told my wife, I said, well, I'm going to break a bone. I said, I'm too old.
Joe says he feared he would have to just quit working out, like so many people do.
I call it the BTC disease, bed, table, and couch. That's all they do. And they just fade away, you know. I like to feel good. I like to feel like I'm still alive. I seen those women pushing these carts around with babies on them running. I said, well, there's what I need.
And so he built this cart to help him run safely.
I put that mirror on there so I can see if anybody comes up behind me on a bicycle or something, you know.
The antlers are motivation, reminding him he needs to be in shape for deer season.
I normally go 30 foot up in a tree.
While Joe made this cart to avoid falls, don't think for a minute it makes running easier. It is heavy duty, made with rebar, loaded up with weights, and weighs at least 100 pounds. It adds to the workout.
I have about a half a mile up grade, but it's nice when you're coming down grade, you know.
I went out for a short run and found out Joe is not someone to mess with. What do you got a baseball bat for?
Oh, that's for dogs and ornery people.
He runs 3 miles a day, almost every single day around Wixom.
I turned 81 in November.
That's impressive, still running.
Yeah, I feel great. Perseverance, like anything else. Keep on keeping on.
In Wixom, Kim Russell, the Now Detroit. Most people think you either have to adopt or conceive a baby to become legally responsible for a child. Under Michigan law, that is simply not how it works.
I was the father by default.
These 4 men came to the 7 Action News studios to raise awareness. You could become dad by default. There are a couple ways it happens. Pastor Edward Mack says his previous wife had 3 children. He loved them as his own. Then he realized 2 of them were not biologically his. You must have been so heartbroken.
Kim, it was a hurting thing. I don't even really want to talk about it because it brings tears to my eyes. Sorry for getting teary-eyed.
Pastor Mack says the betrayal led to divorce. He was shocked when the judge told him because he was married, he became dad by default. He had to pay support for another man's children.
Let her pay for him. Let her get the man she laid down with to pay for him. He goes free.
I never even slept with her. I got a lawsuit when I was young, and she basically just said, that's the money I'm gonna get, and she got it.
Reginald Whitlow, Anthony Sims, and Carnell Alexander have similar stories. They say women named them out of nowhere. In 2014, 7 Action News told Carnell's story and found the mother. She said she was told in order to get welfare benefits, she needed to name a father. She knew he wasn't the dad, but wrote down his name anyway.
Everything is my fault that I put him through.
Do you think that he should have to pay this money?
No, he shouldn't have to pay it at all.
Then these men missed paternity hearings because they were either sick or did not receive notice. Carnell had proof. He was in prison when a process server claimed he was served at a house in Highland Park. When they didn't show up at court, a judge ruled them dads by default. They then missed their chance to challenge it with DNA evidence by the court deadline because they couldn't find the women and children.
They wouldn't give me her address because it was confidential.
These men all eventually got DNA tests backing their stories. Too late.
Oftentimes it doesn't make a difference.
Representative Jim Runstead says those DNA tests should make a difference. The Republican from White Lake says he heard the story of Carnell Alexander on 7 Action News and decided to take action. He says this year he hopes to pass legislation that would protect men from being forced to pay for another man's children. Plus, women and process servers who lie should face stiff legal consequences.
This is wrong. Deceiving and lying and obligating people who are not supposed to be obligated to pay bills is wrong.
These men don't just want the law changed to protect others, they want compensation.
I'm getting garnished, I'm getting thrown in jail, I'm getting felony charges.
You have taken our lives. Change that law.
Representative Runstead says he has written 5 draft bills that aim to prevent such fraud, protecting both men and children. He says he plans to introduce them within the next month. Kim Russell, 7 Action News. If you are lucky enough to see Daniel Mancina out skateboarding, you notice right away he has a cane. It takes a moment to comprehend why, because it seems almost impossible.
The cane is, number one, it looks cool because everyone's like, oh wow, the guy's blind.
Daniel has RP, or retinitis pigmentosa. It has slowly taken away his ability to see.
I found out when I was 13. I went to like a normal eye checkup, and the optometrist noticed something that just wasn't right.
By his early 20s, the Livonia man lost much of his vision.
Definitely went through a couple of years of just like, a lot of depression and like just feeling really bad about myself. And then I eventually just got to the point where you realize that it's all self-pity, and you're only as disabled as your attitude is, really.
He decided to try to get back on the board about 4 years ago. The 29-year-old found he could skateboard using the lines he can barely see painted on a tennis court.
I can't see the board or the box. All I see are like the white lines.
Still, he attempts moves from the crooked grind to flip tricks.
It's like really crazy feeling because I can't see the board, so it's all feel and all timing and a lot of just trust and knowing that the board's going to be there. Foot on the front.
Okay.
Bolts there. There you go. You got it. You're nice and wide stance there.
I think so.
Okay, so kind of push off my hands there.
Okay.
Get a little momentum going.
Getting a little lesson here.
See how it feels? Okay, now close your eyes and I'm going to let go
Oh my
of your
gosh.
hands.
I cannot close my eyes. Absolutely not. This is really challenging. We're going to show you what it's like to be Daniel.
So your full picture. So you can't see in the left eye, so you get rid of half of that.
Then in his right eye, he is 95% blind. He can only see a small area in his peripheral.
And then like put a bunch of layers of saran wrap over that so it makes it kind of blurry.
Like any skateboarder, Daniel wipes out. His message is about getting back up.
It's like in life, you got to keep getting up, no matter how many times you fall, and dust yourself off and keep going at it, whatever the obstacle is.
In Livonia, Kim Russell, the Now Detroit. Let me ask you a question. You leave the store with your shopping cart, you take your bag, you go to your vehicle to put your stuff away. Then, think about this, what do? You still have to put your shopping cart away. Do you lock your door or do you quickly put your shopping cart away? One woman didn't lock her car, and she'll never make that mistake again. Nicole Dalian says it happened so fast in the moment she took to put her cart away. The man made his move.
When I turned around, there was a man sitting in my driver's seat.
She immediately hit the lock button. The man in her truck panicked and couldn't unlock the door.
I'm like, get out of my truck. And he's like, I can't. And all that. I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's right, I locked you in.
Once she hit lock, it gave her time to go to a man in this parking lot for help. He just happened to have a gun. So he stood outside her truck and made sure the man who's now in this police car didn't go anywhere.
He was wonderful, stood there and watched the man the entire time so I could go in and call the police.
Police soon arrived and arrested the man. Why'd you get in that lady's truck? It's not your truck.
Because I was scared. Honestly, I feel like somebody's going to kill me.
Detroit police are not buying his story. They say he has a history of breaking into cars and stealing things. Nicole is grateful her instincts helped her turn her truck into a makeshift jail cell.
You can always hit the lock button on a newer vehicle and they're stuck in there.
Now that man is in a real jail cell. Police tell me they expect he's going to be charged on either attempted larceny from a vehicle or larceny from a vehicle. Reporting live in Detroit, Kim Russell, 7 Action News.